They don't pay us to think. They pay us to know. We know we can beat them. There's no excuses why we shouldn't. Win the game, period. W is on 3, man. Let's go. W on 3. 1, 2, 3, W.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report Live. We're breaking down the 2018 NFL Draft of our beloved Washington Redskins, and it's widely regarded as one of the best drafts the Redskins have put together in quite some time. I would have to agree. Now, again, you can't judge these drafts at least for 3 years. In my estimation, you've got to give these players time. And really, sometimes you've got to give it a fourth and final year to kind of gauge some of these players. Not all players develop at the same rate. I know a lot of people are dogging Josh Doctson right now, and I don't know if he'll live up to the first-round pick status that he was selected at. I don't know if he'll ever live up to that, but I think there is something to be said about giving the young man a chance. Last year was essentially his rookie season, and so you just don't know when the light bulb comes on for a guy like Josh Doctson. Maybe it's this year coming up. Maybe it's the year after if he gets that opportunity. Who's to say? All I can tell you is that not all guys are created equal. Not all guys get it at the same time. Not all guys come into the league with the same amount of maturity. Not all guys are putting in the same amount of time. Not all guys are ready for that next step from college football athlete to NFL football player. So it takes time. And so I would tell you to give these players an opportunity to come in, get their feet wet, learn the system, learn the ropes, learn the NFL, and then we'll see what they're really made of. Some guys hit the ground running, okay? As we saw in New Orleans last year, Alvin Kamara and Marshon Lattimore, both rookies of the year on their respective sides of the football. They came in, they hit the ground running. Great system, great fit. They came in, they showed off why they were first-round pick in Marshon Lattimore's case, in the case of Marshon Lattimore. And in Alvin Kamara, I thought he was a first-round pick. He showed why he should have been taken a lot higher than his third-round selection. So let's jump into this draft. And there's so much to discuss with our Redskins tonight. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the draft tonight. We're going to break these players down. And then we're going to have a separate video for all of the things that are going on with the Redskins, whether you're talking about the whole Dan Snyder Redskins cheerleading scandal, you're talking about Bruce Allen potentially on the way out to Oakland. You want to talk about anything and everything with this Redskins football team. It is all on the table. You want to talk about Derrius Guice and the off-the-field issues that saw him drop to the Redskins at 59. All of it on the table after we break these players down. We'll be on a separate stream. I don't want to clog this one up with matters non-draft. So that being said, let's jump into the Redskins 2018 NFL Draft, and we'll start with their first-round selection of Alabama defensive lineman Daron Payne. A lot of discussion, I myself included, about this pick and how it was made, when it was made, and was it the right selection? Nonetheless, he's the Redskins' first-round pick, 13th overall. Let's talk about Daron Payne. So, I'm not going to break Daron Payne down like I am most of these prospects tonight. Neither am I going to do that with Guice either, because I've already done that. I've done that on a separate video. So if you want a breakdown, well, with Payne, I haven't broken him down. I've done the video, but I never released it. I ran out of time, so I'm gonna break him down. I'm not gonna break down Derrius Guice because I've already done a video on him. But let's get into Daron Payne and talk about Daron Payne and what he's gonna mean for this Redskins football team in 2018 and beyond. So Redskins spend the 13th overall pick, and if you listen to Doug Williams, and we've got to talk about Doug Williams too. We're going to do that on the next video if you guys want to stick around and chop it up. But this was a highly debated selection. Obviously, I myself was not a fan of the pick. I still think it was the wrong decision, but I'm happy with the player that we got. Okay, I think that's where some of you don't understand my displeasure with the pick. I don't dislike this pick, okay? And that's a double negative. How about I just say it like this? I like the player that we got. I didn't like the fact that we got him where we got him. I would have preferred someone else or two other players that were on the board. Any which of those two players I thought were better than Payne at that particular selection. That being said, for what we need on this football team, Payne fit. The need fit. But you don't select for need at 13. You select best player available. I don't think that he was the best player available. But that being said, this is a damn good football player. Let me stress that. We got ourselves a really good football player. I just don't think he was better than the other guys on the board. But that being said, Daron Payne, 6'2", 311 pounds, a junior coming out of this Alabama program, and he's gotten a lot of snaps at Alabama. You've got to like that because for a team in Alabama that has a lot of guys that get on the field in 2 or 3 years after getting on campus because of all of the guys that are there before you, that log jam that you have to put up with at Alabama, for him to get on the field quite early in his career at Alabama speaks volumes to the level of talent that Daron Payne brings to the table. That being said, you look at some of his career numbers. Tackles for loss, 5 in his career. That's not a big number, but when you watch him on tape and when you look at what Alabama asked him to do, you understand why he didn't have a bunch of tackles for loss. They were running more of a 2-gap system. He was responsible for the 2 gaps on each side of him, so he wasn't allowed to go up the field and penetrate and make plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. When he was asked to do so, when he was allowed to do so, he did do that, but for the most part, he was occupying space, occupying blockers, and allowing other guys to get the shine. So when you watch the tape, when you're in the know, you see what Daron Payne's value really is, and you begin to appreciate what he brings to the table. 1 forced fumble in his career, also an interception, came in that Clemson playoff game in 2017. Also caught a touchdown pass in that same game. You go to his measurables. I think he's got some solid measurables. Could he be a little bit taller? Sure. But 6'2", not going to kill him for that. 311, good size for an interior defensive lineman. And the thing I like about him is the versatility. You can move this guy up and down the defensive line. I think the Redskins would be remiss if they just thought that he was just a nose tackle. And I think they're going to get everything out of him. I think he's going to be best suited as a 5-tech at the next level, playing all that means is playing the defensive end position in a 3-4 defense. I think he's going to be best suited playing a 5-tech, and I think he can be a very good and a solid player as a nose. But I think where he's going to shine is at 5 technique at the next level. But the fact that he gives you the versatility to be able to play him at the nose as a 0-tech, as a 1-tech, shaded slightly over the center. The ability to play a 3 technique, which I think he really excels at, along with Jonathan Allen. Play a 5-tech. This guy can go all up and down the defensive line, and that versatility alone makes you have to love this pick. Athleticism. This guy is very nimble for a 311-pounder. 4.95 40 is what he ran. Again, don't mind the 40 times. That doesn't really gauge true athleticism with these big guys. When you're talking about 290, 295, 300 pounds and up type of guys, don't really pay attention. It's nice to see a sub-5 40 that tells you that not only is this guy athletic, but he has long-distance speed. But with those guys, you just got to watch the tape. The 10-second split is what most people care about with bigger guys. His athleticism is apparent when you watch him on tape. And again, very nimble on his feet. And that 4.95 speaks to his athleticism as well. Hand usage, if you go to Alabama, you're taught by some of the best, and they bring that. You saw it with Jonathan Allen last year. I thought Jonathan Allen, after Joey Bosa, might have been some of the best hand usage I've seen coming out of college. To me, Joey Bosa coming out of Ohio State is the gold standard for hand usage. And if you go to Alabama, you'll see that most of those Alabama guys come to the league ready to use their hands and are black belt in hand fighting at the line of scrimmage. And Daron Payne is no different. And so his hand usage is top notch. And that's something that's going to help him win at the next level. A lot of guys don't understand just how powerful the usage of your hands are at the NFL level, but Daron Payne does, and that's going to benefit him at the next level. Awareness. Here's a guy that very aware of what's going on, sees what's happening in front of him, can get his hands on footballs, deflections, that sort of thing, takes on double teams, but never loses sight of where the football is. Highly aware athlete here in Daron Payne. And again, you're not going to always get to the quarterback. Get your hands up. You're not going to always make the play, but make plays for others. Occupy that double team. Maybe pull a jersey if you have to. All right, we saw Justin Smith do it for years, allowing guys to dominate like Aldon Smith, where he would grab jerseys and allow guys coming on that TE stunt and twist to come around and get to the quarterback. He's a really savvy player, is Daron Payne, and he's a guy that is highly skilled and aware. Point of attack physicality. He is among the best in this draft at point of attack physicality. When this guy engages and digs his feet into the ground, you're not moving this guy off the spot. I've seen him take on double teams and not give an inch of ground. His point of attack physicality is exactly what this Redskins defense has lacked over the last 5 to 7 years in this 3-4 defensive front since making the switch in 2010 under Mike Shanahan. We haven't had the ability to do that since making the switch with a true nose, with a true physical presence up front. This guy gives you that ability to do that. His point of attack physicality is second to none in this draft. That includes Vita Vea. If you ask me, this guy is ridiculously strong at the point of attack. Redirect, he does a solid job of redirecting, but he's a big guy, so it's not always easy to stop, turn, and switch directions in which you're running. So his redirect is solid. It's not great. Ability versus the run, he's extremely gifted against the run. That's his biggest strong suit right now as he enters the league. His ability to stop the run is paramount for his success as a football player, and it's going to help define this Redskins rush defense in 2018 and hopefully for many years to come. Pass rushing ability, right now that's one of the negatives. We'll come back to that, but these are all the pros that we're talking about right now. Tackling ability, when he gets his hands on guys, they don't get away. And so his tackling ability is top notch. Even if he's occupying a double team and he reaches out that long arm of the law, or as I call it, a pog, to just stick your hand out there and get a piece of cloth, he's able to do that, occupy space, and still get into play. And if he gets his hands on you, he's going to hold on and get you down on the ground. His motor and endurance are both solid. Again, in the NFL, there should be a nice rotation that will allow this man to stay fresh. When he's fresh and he's revved up and ready to go, you're not going to find many in this draft better at what he does in terms of stopping the run. And so both of those are solid enough as he moves on to the next level. And finally, impact on the game. Along the defensive line, we talk about this all the time. You get guys that don't get the credit that they deserve, especially up front. Both sides of the football in the trenches, especially offensive and defensive line. Especially on the offensive side, if you don't hear their name, that means they're doing their job. On the defensive side of the football, you never hear their name, but they may be doing all the dirty work. And that's the case when you're talking about Daron Payne. I think he has a high level of impact on the game. I put down in my notes, does the dirty work, takes on double teams. When they run those TE games, when they're running those tackle and twists and stunts, he's the guy usually occupying the blockers so that that guy that's looping around can get a free rush and hit at the quarterback. And again, you don't get the credit for those. The guy that gets the sack, the guy that gets the pressure, the guy that gets the hurry gets the accolades and acclaim for doing that. But it's the guy that allowed him to do that, the guy that freed him up and made him a free hitter that needs to be given some of that credit. And Daron Payne has been that guy at Alabama for the last 3 years. And so I look at Daron Payne's body of work, and he's going to come in and be a vital piece of this Redskins defense up front along this defensive line. There's no doubt about that. This is a really good football player. And the thing about him is, and let's get to his cons, because I don't think there's a lot that you can say wrong about Daron Payne. The one knock that I have on him right now is he's not much of a pass rusher. 3 career sacks. Only had 1 a season ago. And my thing is, I think he has room for growth as a pass rusher. I don't think he is limited in that ability to get to the quarterback from a standpoint of he can't do it. There's some guys when you look at him and you just say, he can't get to the quarterback. That's just not in his DNA. It's not a part of his arsenal. He's got the ability to do it. I think when he gets into D.C., when he gets with Jim Tomsula, who I think is one of the best defensive line coaches, and not just because I'm a Redskins fan, I think Jim Tomsula is one of the best in the business at what he does. There's a reason he's at the combine coaching up the defensive line players and edge rushers, because he's the best at what he does. And I think he's going to get the most out of Daron Payne. There are a few coaches on the Redskins staff that I just have the utmost confidence in. One is Jim Tomsula. The other is the Redskins defensive back coach, Torian Gray. Those 2 guys, I'll go to bat for any day of the week and twice on Sundays for what they do for these players on our team. You've seen guys grow exponentially along the defensive line, and you've seen guys grow exponentially in our secondary since the addition of Torian Gray. And so I look at Payne as a guy that has room for growth as a pass rusher. He's not there yet. And if he doesn't get any better, then he'll just be one hell of a run stopper. Okay, if he's able to improve this part of his game, he could go from a really important cog in his Redskins defense to a potential Pro Bowl, maybe even all-pro player. That's the one part of his game that he's lacking right now, is the ability to consistently get to the quarterback. He's a guy that may get pressures, but will he hit home? Will he actually get to the quarterback? Will he have 4 or 6 sacks in any given season? We'll see. I like his chances to improve in that area, but right now, that's not where he is as a football player. But you look at Daron Payne, as a Redskins fan, you got to love this pick for what he's going to bring to the table. Do I love the pick knowing what was on the board? No. But do I love this pick? We've made the pick. It's done. Do I love this pick for what he's going to bring to the table? You damn right I do. And I think Daron Payne's going to be an exceptional run defender. Day one, as soon as he steps on the field, he's an exceptional run stopper for a defense that last year, when the injury set in, was not very good at stopping the run. So you go from Daron Payne and the #1 pick for the Redskins in this draft to the 2nd round selection of running back Derrius Guice out of LSU. So you look at Derrius Guice, the Redskins' 2nd round selection, 59th overall, and I'm not going to break him down. I've watched a ton of games with Guice, Florida, Auburn, Mississippi, Alabama, Notre Dame, just to name a few. And so what I do, and just to give you a little bit of insight as to what I do, I watch as many games as I think is necessary, because a lot of times with these players, you can get a sense after watching 2 or 3 games. Sometimes you need more. If you didn't see enough, you need more. Maybe there's certain areas. Maybe you didn't see enough pass pro, so you got to go watch some more games. But I've got a rubric for every different position that I use, and there are different criteria for each rubric for each position. And so I go through, and depending on the player, depending on his specific situation, every player is different. No 2 players are the same. No situation with 2 players are the same. I go watch games accordingly with Guice. I've already broken him down, so if you're looking for a breakdown of Derrius Guice and what he brings to the table, go watch my Draft Prospects 101 breakdown of Derrius Guice. But I want to talk more about the pick itself, and we'll get into the minutia of Derrius Guice and whether he's going to be a distraction or not on the breakdown after this. If you guys want to stay around and chop it up on the React video, then we'll do it then. But I think what makes this pick so special is that the Redskins knew who they wanted. And I told you, even though I was very frustrated when I told you this, and maybe you didn't hear the message because of the way that I delivered it, but I told you the Redskins plan coming into the draft. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick, if he were there, and I said that on that same video, again, you may not have heard it because I was yelling, I was frustrated, but I said Minkah Fitzpatrick may have been the only guy that could have gotten the Redskins to deviate away from their plan of 1st round Payne, 2nd round Guice. But nonetheless, I told you I thought that was the plan coming in. Guice in the second round, Payne in the first round, and they got their 2 guys. The beauty of what they did in the second round, Redskins didn't own a third-round pick, as we all know. In the trade for Alex Smith, the Redskins had to part ways with not only cornerback Kendall Fuller, but also a third-round selection. Moving back from 44 to 59 in this draft allowed the Redskins to pick up an additional third-round pick, one that was earlier than the third-round pick that they gave away to the Chiefs in the Fuller deal. So, in essence, what made this Derrius Guice pick so special is that the guy that they were going to take at 44, they passed on the opportunity to take him, move back in the second round, pick up an additional third-round pick, which would later turn into Jaron Christian. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. He's coming up next after this. But to parlay this 44th selection into a third-round pick and still getting the guy that you coveted at 44 in Derrius Guice, the Redskins, Doug Williams and company must be given credit for what they were able to finagle there and how they were able to execute getting Derrius Guice in the second round of the 2018 NFL Draft. So kudos given to the Redskins staff, Doug Williams and company, for getting the most out of this second round pick. Not just the player that we got in Guice, who I think is going to really elevate the run game in ways you can't even imagine. He's a tough SOB. And if we can get the guy that was explosive in 2016, and I've said this already, I said it on this Draft Prospects 101 breakdown, you really want to see the true Derrius Guice, the one free of injuries, go back and watch him against Texas A&M in 2016. That's the Derrius Guice we're hoping to get, with a splash of the Derrius Guice that was a tough in-between-the-tackles runner in 2017. But that guy was more hampered by injuries than the one in 2016 that was spelling an injured Leonard Fournette. That guy was fresh. That guy was explosive. That guy was dynamic. That's the guy that we're hoping we get in D.C. as well. So with that being said, you go from Derrius Guice in the second round to a guy that we didn't think we were going to get because we didn't think we were going to have a third-round selection in Louisville tackle Jaron Christian. So you look at Jaron Christian here. Here's a guy that I think is not ready for prime time yet. I think this is a guy that you draft, you stash, and when I say stash, normally when I say that, I mean you draft him, you stash him on the practice squad. You're not stashing this guy anywhere. He's making the active roster as a third-round pick. And when he was selected, there were a lot of questions. And I think I'm going to save a lot of that discussion for the react afterwards. But we didn't know at the time that the Redskins were thinking about using Ty Nsekhe as a guard this year. We kept talking about guard, guard, guard. Well, if you're moving Nsekhe inside, now you need a swing tackle, a guy that can play both left and right tackle. Enter in Jaron Christian. 6'5", 298 pounds out of Louisville. He's a junior, but he started from day one walking on the Louisville campus. So you've got 3 years of experience here for Jaron Christian, which is vital. You like guys with ample college football experience. We're going to talk about some guys with less than a bunch of college football experience in some of the later picks for the Redskins, but here's one of them that doesn't fall into that category. This is a guy that played a ton of football while at Louisville. So you look at the first pro, his measurables. His length at 298 pounds at 6'5". The length is the thing that's the most intriguing here with his measurables. He can put on more weight, and he's going to have to put on more weight. 298 isn't big enough. We'll talk about that in a second. But the 35-inch arms are they're outstanding, okay? They're exceptional. They're what you're looking for in a tackle. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, when you're breaking down these tackles, when you hear guys talk about, when you hear evaluators talk about length, they're looking for guys with 34-inch arms or longer, okay? Why that is important is because you, as a tackle, want to keep the defensive end / edge rusher away from your body. The best way to be able to do that is to have a length. If a guy's able to get into your body, they're able to jack you up, potentially put you on skates, or they're able to give you a move that will allow them to get to the quarterback. If you've got long arms, you're able to extend a punch. And to me, being a tackle is very similar to being a boxer. And I always kind of put the two together because boxers with long reach, if you've got a nice jab, you can control a fight from the outside. That's what you're looking for with the tackle. That's why evaluators want guys with long arms and good reach, because you want to control the fight as a tackle from the outside. You don't want a guy getting into your body. You don't want a guy getting close to you. You want to keep him at bay. The best way to do that is with length. Now, we saw the Patriots draft a tackle out of Georgia. A lot of people thought he was going to end up being a guard. All right. He's got 33 and 3/8 inch arms. They're going to give him a shot at tackle. All right. So you can get away with it if you know how to play with it. But for the most part, you look at the Cowboys selection of Connor Williams. He was a tackle at Texas. And he's got good size on him, but his arms are only 33 inches, which means he's a guard. And a lot of people, that's why he fell to the second round. So he's got the length you're looking for at the tackle position, does Jaron Christian. And that length helps him in ways that evaluators like, and this is another reason you hear people talk about length, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But let's get to his athleticism. 5'3", 340. Again, don't pay attention to 40 times when you're talking about the big nasties. You want to more so pay attention to how these guys move, and especially for a guy like Jaron Christian, who's a tackle, how light is he on his feet? How good is his lateral agility and quickness? How is his kick slide? How quick does he get out of his stance? When he's moving up the field to get to the second level, how quickly does he do so? These are the things you're looking for. All right, if he gets beat to the inside, how does he react to that? If he gets beat to the outside, how does he react to that? That's where athleticism comes into play. This is an ex-basketball player at Louisville. This is a guy that, for all intents and purposes, was not a football player. So this is a guy that's still learning, okay? And that's part of the reason why he's not a big guy. He's not 315. He's not 313. He's 298. He was a basketball player. So the athleticism is there. You can see that he has that ability to move laterally. And his stance is beautiful. His erectness, how he stands in his stance, it's gorgeous. It's how you want to teach it. It's picturesque. So from a technical standpoint, he's got a lot of work to do. And that's one of his cons. We'll come back to that. But we go to his anchor. I think his anchor is fine. He's got to get stronger. And I could have easily put this in the con section as one of the things he doesn't do well, because I watched him in 3 different games, all of which were against NFL caliber players. I'm not messing around with the bums that you're supposed to swallow up while at Louisville, okay? I'm not looking for him against Duke. I don't care about what he does against some 6'3", 241-pound defensive end. I'm good. I'm going to pass on that one. What I want to see is what you do against that talented defensive line in NC State, okay? All 4 of their defensive linemen drafted in the 2018 NFL draft, all 4 of them. So I wanted to see 2016 Jaron Christian versus Bradley Chubb and company. I wanted to see Jaron Christian in 2017 versus Bradley Chubb and company. I wanted to see Jaron Christian in 2017 versus Florida State. What did he do against Josh Sweat, a guy that was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2018 NFL draft? So those are the games that I focused in on with Jaron Christian. And what I saw was a guy that I think needs some more functional strength. Only 19 reps of 2 1/4. That's not what you're looking for out of your tackle. You want him north of 20, preferably mid-20s. It'd be great if he could get to the 30s, but a lot of these guys aren't getting to the 30s as tackles. You're seeing that more so on the defensive side of the football than you are offensive. But nonetheless, 19 is not good enough. He needs to get a little bit stronger. And you saw that on tape. I saw him get bull rushed in 2017 versus Florida State, backed into the lap of the quarterback. I saw him get bull rushed in 2017 versus NC State, okay? Put on skates. And that's got to change. He's got to get stronger, and he will get stronger. He'll get into the Redskins nutritional program. He'll get much stronger. I'm not worried about that, and he doesn't have to play right away, so he'll have time to bulk up and get stronger. Balance. I think his balance is extraordinary, okay? You don't see this guy falling all over the place. You don't see him lunging and reaching. he's got good balance and good posture, and I like the way that he's been coached at Louisville in that regard. Redirect. He doesn't redirect all that well, not as well as I thought he was going to for an ex-basketball player. But that being said, they didn't ask him to get to the second level a ton at Louisville, so I don't know if that's something he'll be asked to do as a tackle. We see Trent Williams getting out on screens and things of that nature. That's not what Jaron Christian is going to be the best at doing at the next level. And just to give you a little bit of what this guy is, he's more Morgan Moses than he is Trent Williams in terms of athleticism. Toughness. He's a tough guy. He's a tough cookie. And normally when you hear ex-basketball player, I worry a little bit because some basketball players, they're soft. You know, basketball players, they're not football players. And so I thought there may have been a little bit of that in him. No. There are a couple of times, and we'll get to this when we get to finish, but there are a couple of times where I just saw him power drive a guy, put a little syrup on that pancake, and I love that. So toughness is not a question. Pass blocking ability, his pass blocking is light years ahead of his run blocking right now. His pass blocking is what got him drafted in the 3rd round. His ability to flip sides and block both left and right tackle is what got him drafted in the 3rd round. So his pass blocking ability is really good. He's got some things, some small things he's got to clean up, and we'll discuss those. But for the most part, his pass blocking is what's going to get him on the field sooner rather than later. Run blocking, he's solid as a run blocker. I saw him turn his hips a couple of times, seal off some blocks, but he's got some work to do in that department. And I feel confident that he'll get the coaching that he needs with this staff, and he'll be able to do some things from a run blocking perspective. Bill Callahan and those guys, I expect them to get their hands on Jaron Christian and help him become a much better run blocker. Finish. He's got some nasty to him, and that's what I put in my notes. Versus Florida State in 2017, there are a couple of blocks in that game. One where he just takes a safety and just devours him, dumps him on his skull, falls on top of him. It's a thing of beauty about 7 to 12 yards down the field. Love it. Then there's another block on the opposite side of the field because he played both sides, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But there's another block. This one was just nasty. It was just unnecessary, and I love it, where he's drive blocking a guy, and he's taking him down the field, and at the end of the play, he just continues to push him. They get to a pile. He spills the guy onto the ground, pushes him down in the ground, and gets up, stands over him, looks down at him like, what? You want more? Because I can give you more. And so I love it. Want more of it. I love that physicality and that nastiness. That's what's going to win at the next level. Awareness. In that same Florida State game in 2017, there was a late blitzer coming, a free hitter. He had no one to block. They pinched the line down inside, and so they were able to pick up the blitzers that were coming. But then he looks up at the last second. A late delayed blitzer is coming free. He looks up, spots him, gets a hand on him. It wasn't the cleanest of blocks, but just that little impediment allowed the quarterback to get the football off. So I love that recognition and that awareness that, hey, I don't have any work. Let me go look for some work. And he found some, and he got the job done. Recovery. In the NC State game in 2017, he got beat around the edge by Nick Chubb, who was the 5th overall selection, Bradley Chubb, who was the 5th overall selection by the Denver Broncos in the 2018 NFL Draft. Gets beat around the edge by Chubb. Chubb beat him a couple of times in that game. Once was his fault. The other was not his fault. Lamar Jackson was just trying to run around and make something happen. But he got beat a 3rd time in that game, and he was able to recover with that length. And this is why I talked about length at the beginning. I said there was something else that comes into play. Recovery is huge. In that game against NC State in 2017, he gets beat around the edge. Chubb is trying to turn the corner. What does Jaron Christian do? Push him around the pocket and allow the integrity of the pocket to be maintained, so all Lamar Jackson had to do was step up. So when you got length, you can win even when you lose. You may lose the battle, but you win the war at the end with length. And so in 2017 versus Florida State, same thing. Joshua Sweat beats him around the edge on the right side, okay? Chubb beat him on the left side. Sweat beat him on the right side. What does he do? He pushes him around the pocket, keeps the integrity of the pocket, and allows Lamar Jackson to step up in a clean pocket. So when you have the length, you have a chance, even when you lose, to still win. All in all, this guy is unique because at Louisville, Bobby Petrino used, and he did this with all of his tackles and does this with his tackles, he swing tackles his tackles. So on first and second down, you may be at left tackle. On third down and first down on the next set of downs, you may be at left tackle. Then all of a sudden, it was so tough watching the tape because I had to stop between each play and figure out, okay, and then the jersey numbers and the jerseys and the way they're configured, it doesn't make it easy to decipher 74 from 73, so you got to stop it. Which one is he on this play? I'm looking for knee braces and little tells that will tell me, okay, this is Jaron Christian. It was not an easy watch, okay? But this guy has the ability to play not only left tackle, but right tackle right out the gate. Do you know how hard it is to do that? Ty Nsekhe is a much better left tackle than he is a right tackle. When Morgan Moses went down last year in the second Dallas game, Ty Nsekhe got his ass whooped versus DeMarcus Lawrence and company in that Dallas game on Thursday night when we got our ass tore up on Thursday Night Football against Dallas. On the left side, Ty Nsekhe is much better. That's because he's accustomed to blocking on the left side. Well, Jaron Christian is accustomed to doing it on both sides. So having a guy that already has experience as a swing tackle, which is what Jaron Christian is going to do, and eventually, down the line, Jaron Christian is going to be the starting tackle for the Washington Redskins at left or right tackle. Down the road, okay? If everything works out the way that they plan, he's going to be our starting tackle. Trent Williams and Morgan Moses aren't getting any younger. So this is a really good pick. And this is a guy that doesn't have to play right away, so you can develop him. And so you got to like that as well. He's going to get to learn. He's going to get to learn from some of the best. Morgan Moses is one of the best right tackles in the league, despite some of you guys thinking he's not. He's one of the best right tackles in this league. And Trent Williams, in my estimation, and yes, I'm a little biased, but you ask some people around the league and they'll tell you the same thing. He is the best left tackle in all of football. Jaron Christian is going to learn from some of the best. And I love the fact that he doesn't have to play right away. So you go from the Redskins' third-round selection to their fourth-round pick in Penn State safety, Troy Apke. So I was extremely intrigued by this pick by the Redskins. Immediately when I watched him at the Combine, and if you watch my Combine video, the first thing that jumped out at me was his speed. Even Deion Sanders was blown away by this guy's ability to run. And so anytime I see fast white dude, I'm like, fast white boy alert, fast white boy alert. I need to see more. So I was intrigued with Troy Apke from the jump at the Combine just because of his measurables at 6'1", 200 pounds, and the fact that this guy ran a 4.34 40 and jumped 41 inches on the vert at the Combine. You got my attention, okay? Not to mention you're white. So now I'm doubly intrigued because we don't get white defensive backs in this league very often. That's one of those positions like running back. It's not a bunch of these dudes walking around on the streets, man. So you get an athlete like this, I'm rooting for him, and he's white. Oh, man, there's a lot here that I want to dig into. And so I was fascinated by this pick because of all the picks. He was the guy that when you go around and you listen to people talk, they didn't know a lot about Troy Apke. You couldn't get a lot of info on this guy. So I was dying to put on the tape and watch him in some games and see just what the Redskins saw in Troy Apke, other than his athleticism, obviously, to make him a fourth-round pick. So let's discuss. I watched him in the Pitt game. All of the games I watched him in were from 2017. Watched him in the Pitt game. Watched him in the Iowa game. Watched him in the Michigan State game. And watched him in the Ohio State game. If you want to see Troy Apke at his best, the Iowa game is where you need to go. You get just about everything you're looking for in that game. And I'd even tell you that that Michigan State game gives you a really good sense of what this guy is capable of as well. So with that being said, Troy Apke, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's a senior out of Penn State. The Redskins loved his athleticism one. This guy is physical. He will come up and hit you. closes a lot of ground quickly. Obviously, the 4.3, 4.40 tells you that, but also gives you some great special teams play as well. So there's a lot of value here with Troy Apke. Measurables at 6'1", 200 pounds, that's a really good size for an NFL safety. Would you like him to be 215? Sure, but at 6'1", 200 pounds, that's more than good enough to get the job done at the next level. Speed, 4.3, 4.40. What do I need to say? What more can I say? What more do I need to say? He's running a sub 4.4. Nothing else needs to be said. Nothing else needs to be said. Athleticism. Do I even need to elaborate? 41-inch vert, 4.3, 4.40. But there's a jump ball opportunity versus Michigan State where he's got to go up and make a play. And he goes up and he makes a play. So you actually get to see the vert translate to the field. There's also a knockaway against Iowa on a 2-point conversion that I'll talk about a little bit later on that also shows you some of that athleticism translating from the vert to the field. Acceleration, come on, man. I'm not gonna go there with you. Agility and change of direction. He's solid at that. Could he be better? Sure, he could. But his agility is solid. When you watch him in coverage, he's a little tight. He's a little tight in coverage. A little tight changing the hips, flipping the hips, changing direction. But he makes up for it with the acceleration, with the speed. So that one half a step that he's losing because he's not as fluid, he makes up for it when he's able to stick his foot in the ground and go much faster than slow. So agility, change of direction could be a little bit better. I'll talk about a little bit of what happens with him in coverage with some of those things a little bit later on. But anticipation awareness. So I've got a bad play here versus Michigan State. Play action fake fooled him very badly, and he doesn't anticipate routes very well. Luckily enough for him on that particular play, the ball wasn't thrown. He was beaten to a pulp by about a full 3 steps because he bit down on play action fake. So to me, when I look at him and I watched him in these 4 games, he lacks natural awareness for the position, okay? Where you see some guys just have that natural instincts. They know where the ball's going. They see the quarterback staring down a guy, and they react to it, and they're there before the quarterback delivers the football. He's not that type of guy, all right? He's not the guy that's going to get there before the party starts. He's the guy that gets there as the party starts, maybe gets there a little late, okay? You might have already had a couple of drinks. Here comes Troy showing up, all right? As he did in the, I got it written down, in the Iowa game. Showed up late to the party, made a big hit, but the receiver caught the football 27 yards down the field. Smashed him right on the sidelines. But Troy got there after you've had a couple of brewskis, all right? After everyone's kind of gotten a little loose, they've gotten a little lathered up, here comes Troy showing up with a keg. He gets there a little late, but that's because he lacks natural instincts. Can he get better at that? Yeah, with film study and time, knowing what guys are trying to do, yeah, he can get better at that, but he lacks that at this current moment. Look, locate, contest. You know how I am about being an LLCer. He's not there yet. I don't know if he'll ever be there as a safety. I don't know if he's a guy you necessarily want 40 yards down the field by himself in coverage. I've got a couple of instances where he just was a fish out of water. We'll talk about those a little bit later on. But right now, that's a con for him, okay? He's not a look, locate, and contest guy. And he's got to get better at that. And Jaron Christian, I left out some things that I was supposed to go back and talk about with him and some cons. We'll double back and get him later on. I'm going to just make sure I do it now. All of their attributes, cons, pros, I'll just tell you as I go so I don't forget because I'll forget to go back. But he's not a look, locate, and contest guy right now. So that's a con right now. That's a negative for him. Ball skills, same thing. He's not a guy that's going to make a ton of plays on the football. The one pick that I saw on tape from him was an overthrow interception versus Pitt. He's not looking to make plays on the football, pick it off. He's looking more so to knock it away. So his ball skills, not a guy. He's not Monte Nicholson who's looking to go make a play on the football. He's not Kendall Fuller who's picking off passes for us last year. He's looking to more so knock it away. He's just happy to be there with a chance to get his hands on the ball. He's not looking to make a play necessarily. So that's another negative for me right now with him is ball skills. Where he does excel is this next thing, tackling and willingness to tackle. I love his ability to tackle. I love his ability to come up and be aggressive. I've got a number of instances against Ohio State in the flats. His responsibility is the running back out of the backfield on a swing route, and they throw it to him, and he devours that running back. Grabs his arm, holds him until the cavalry arrives, 3-yard loss. Love it. Guy that's elusive, that can juke you out of space, had no chance. I love it. 4th and 8 on a crosser versus Ohio State. All right. So Ohio State was desperate. They were down big early in the game. They go for it, roll the dice on a 4th and 8. They throw a crosser. Open space. Receivers got the chance to juke Troy Apke. He comes up, grabs him around the waist, turns, twists, gets him. Beautiful open field tackle on a 4th and 8 for a gain of 5, short of the sticks. He could have easily been juked. He wasn't having it. I love it. There's a tackle in the Iowa game versus Aquan Wadley, who a lot of you guys love, who coincidentally enough wasn't drafted. In open space, you know Wadley can make you look silly out in space. Troy Apke was having none of it. Again, form, textbook tackle, wrapped him up around the waist, twist, turn, yank him down. Love it. Want more of it. This guy doesn't miss too often in space, man. I saw this guy out in space with opportunities for guys to put some moves on him, and Troy Apke simply wasn't having any of it. So I love that about him. He's a guy that's going to tackle for sure at the next level. I feel good about him as the last line of defense. Man coverage ability. This right here is something that he's got work to do here. It's a mixed bag right now. I'm not going to kill him for this because while I saw bad, I also saw good. I'm going to start with the bad. You watch him in that Iowa game, he got beat easily for a touchdown, over the top. In the slot, simple seam ball, right up the seam. Guy didn't give him any kind of move, no stem, nothing, no sticks, nothing. Just a simple seam ball. Quarterback throws it up. Apke has no idea where the hell the football is. Again, not an LLCer. Has no idea what route is being run. He's all over the place. He's discombobulated. It's an easy pitch and catch for about a 23-yard touchdown pass. Again, had no business being that easy for a guy that didn't give you anything. He didn't give you a stick, a head, a shake, a nod, nothing. Just straight up the seam. And Apke was just lost in the sauce. But then he breaks up a slant versus Michigan State. All right, man-to-man coverage in the slot, reads it, and breaks it up beautifully. So he's got ability. I feel less comfortable with him man-to-man down the field than I do closer to the line of scrimmage. Zone coverage, he's solid in zone. You're not going to beat him over the top. He's more conservative, maybe even a little bit more conservative than I would like him to be. He gets a ton of depth in his drops. When he's supposed to be the deepest, he's definitely going to be the deepest. That being said, there's a beautiful knockaway against Iowa in a critical 2-point conversion situation. He gets up, climbs the ladder, shows you that 41-inch vertical to knock that football away. Really good zone drop versus Michigan State. All right, so quarterback is being flushed out of the pocket to his left. Apke is dropping into a little bit of a hook zone. He expands that zone because the quarterback is rolling out. And what he does is he plays in between because the running back is running a flare route into the flats and the receiver is running a slant. So what he does is he runs underneath the slant to start, gets some depth underneath the slant, takes that option away, which forces the quarterback to have to roll and flush out of the pocket to his left. Then as the quarterback tries to check it down to the running back, Apke sinks underneath that flare route to the outside. So he's playing both the slant and the flare beautifully, makes the quarterback turn the flare down as well, ultimately tries to fit it into the running back about 2 seconds later, and it goes out of bounds incomplete. So that's a nice zone drop there from Apke. I like him in zone coverage around the line of scrimmage and even to a degree as he's away from the line of scrimmage. Blitzing capabilities. Against Iowa and Michigan State, you get to see him blitz, and I want to see him blitz more because he's got elite speed. So if you can get him to time it up and disguise it a little bit better, I don't think he disguised it as well as I would have liked him to. One blitz he had against Iowa, it was a good blitz. It just, he came from too far, so he didn't get there in time. Had he been a little bit closer, he should have been kind of mulling around the line of scrimmage at more along the lines of 8 to 9 yards. He was more like 11 to 10 yards away, and so that extra yard or two, was a step away from the quarterback. It was a nice blitz. And he made up a lot of ground, but he just got there a little late. But I think he's a guy that you can use as a blitzer at the next level. Field coverage and range. Right now, I look at Apke, and you know he's got the ability to range, okay, with the speed that he has. His field coverage is good, but he takes poor pursuit angles. So let's get into that. Right now, for me, this is a con, okay? His pursuit angles aren't what you would like him to be right now at this point. He's inconsistent, and here are all my pursuit angles that I put down in my notes. On a wide receiver screen versus Ohio State, takes a bad pursuit angle. He should have been forcing that slant or that bubble back inside, that wide receiver screen, excuse me, back to the inside. He takes the angle of a guy that's coming from inside out, which means if you're coming inside out, you got help to the outside. You're not going to allow him to go inside, so you're taking that inside out approach. He should have been taking an outside in approach, whereas I'm forcing you back to my help. I'm funneling you back to my help. I've got two defenders right behind me on the inside. I'm going to get to the outside first. I'm going to beat you to the spot, force you to cut it back, and here comes my help. You're not getting any more than 2 yards on this play. Instead, he comes inside out. The receiver then gives him a little hesitation, gets to the outside, and picks up 11 on a play that should have picked up 2 yards. Poor pursuit angle. Against Pitt, horrible angle coming down as a run defender. He's coming down from about 15 to 20 yards, and the running back bursts through the line of scrimmage, gets to the second level, and Apke comes down, takes a poor angle, and the guy just simply gives him a 1-2 step, cuts to the outside, and Apke has to stop, turn, and run, and he gives up a big 30-yard run down the sidelines again. Really poor pursuit angle. He should have been coming again outside in. He came inside out. Guy gives him a simple 1-2 step like Sierra. Let me see you 1-2 step. Boom, to the outside, and now off to the races. And now you got to get help from the opposite side safety in Marcus Allen to come chase him out of bounds. So another poor pursuit angle there. Takes a great angle against Ohio State on a bubble screen. This is the one where he decides, okay, I learned from that wide receiver screen earlier. Now you want to try this bubble. I'm going to force you inside. He takes the outside, forces him back inside. He didn't make the tackle, but he does allow his defenders to get to the football and really minimize the gain. I think it was only a 1-yard gain because he took a good pursuit angle. But then here we go again. Bad pursuit angle versus Iowa. Late in that game, Akrum Wadley has a run. And here comes Troy Apke as the last line of defense, as a run defender. Similar to that Pitt game, takes a poor angle. Your help is to the inside. He takes an outside, an outside approach. Allows Wadley to take a 1-2 step, juke him to the inside, and off to the races, or excuse me, to the outside. His help was to the inside. He should have been going hard outside. He comes inside. Wadley goes outside and it easily gets to the end zone and wins a foot race for a touchdown that gave Iowa a late lead that they would later relinquish. But poor angle there on a late touchdown run by Akrum Wadley. But then he shows you range. I talked about this earlier against Iowa. Ball delivered about 30 yards down the field, 27, 30 yards down the field. Apke shows up just slightly late to the party, as I referenced earlier, but lights the receiver up. And if you're soft, that football's coming out. But this receiver was able to, hold on, and it's a completion. But he showed range to get there from where he was on the field to where that football was delivered. So you get that with him as well. Versatility, you get special teams, you get a slot defender, you get a guy that can play a deep half. They even trusted him to play single high at times. I don't know if he's ready for that at the next level. And then you get a guy that can blitz and a guy that can come up and run support, and you get a guy that can play special teams. So I like his versatility at this point, and durability and toughness. This guy didn't miss any games. He's tough as nails. He's what you're looking for. And so there's a lot to like here with Troy Apke. I wasn't convinced about the pick other than athletic white boy. Athletic white boy alert. He's more than that. And so I like this pick more than I did when the Redskins made it. I like the potential for Troy Apke to come in and give us some depth at a position that we desperately can use it. Now you got 4 safeties that you trust. Our 2 starters in Monte Nicholson and DJ Swearinger. And now Troy Apke and DeShazer Everett give you the well-rounded balance that you're looking for at the safety position. As we go on to the Redskins' next pick, one that really made a lot of us smile, Virginia Tech defensive tackle Tim Settle. So you look at this pick for the Redskins. This was a pick, and I was happy, really overjoyed, but at the same time, it was bittersweet because this pick here made me feel like that first round pick was unnecessary. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this Tim Settle pick, what it does is it fortifies our defensive line. I feel so good about our line now after the Payne pick and the Settle pick to reinforce. And remember, I think it was around the third round, maybe even the fourth round, I said about the Redskins, I wouldn't mind doubling down with Tim Settle. Remember on that day 2 of the draft, I think it was the third round when we took Jaron Christian, I said, hey, this is not a bad spot right now for Tim Settle. I wouldn't mind doubling down on defensive line here. And they actually went offensive line, and they came all the way back around full circle, 5th round, and their guy's still sitting there, and they take him in Tim Settle. So this is a great pick because he's a true nose tackle. And I think this will allow them, if you're asking me, in our base defense, I'm looking at a starting defensive line of Daron Payne at left defensive end, Tim Settle at nose, and Jonathan Allen at right defensive end. I mean, what more do you want than that? That's beautiful. Can't do it much better than that. So I think Tim Settle gives us the versatility. And if we could just get the Baylor defensive lineman that we tried to give a chance to last year to stay healthy, that we re-signed again, if we can just get him, Phil Taylor, to stay healthy. We got some depth now with Ioannidis and Lanier. We got some depth. And Stacey McGee, we just cut Terrell McClain and A.J. Francis. So we feel good about our defensive line. This is probably the best we've felt about our defensive line in quite some time. So the reason we feel this way is because of this pick here in Virginia Tech defensive tackle Tim Settle. 6'3", 329 pounds. Only 2 years of collegiate experience. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. 19 and a half tackles for loss in 2 years. That's extraordinary for a nose. He's also got a blocked field goal on his resume. So this is a guy that does a lot of different things for you here. But you start with his measurables, tremendous measurables. At 6'3", 329, this guy's a puppy. He's only 20 years old. He's a puppy. Redshirt sophomore. Puppy. Okay? 33-inch arms at 6'3", 329, man. Guy's got everything you're looking for right here. Athleticism, 5'3", Don't allow that to fool you. This guy moves, man. He's a big ninja. Guy's light on his feet, man. Guy's moving, okay? Quickness off the line of scrimmage. Quickness off the snap. You're not paying attention, he'll beat you. Hand usage. He uses his hands solidly. It's not Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen-esque, but he uses his hands. Will defeat blocks up front with hand usage, especially his swim. The swim is his go-to move. If he beats you off the line of scrimmage with his swim, he's swimming and ripping and he's getting up the field. Awareness, this is a con for him. This is a negative right now. He's not always the most aware. He can fall for the banana in the tailpipe. He'll bite the bait on play action fake. I've seen him chase running backs 3-4 yards the wrong way before realizing, oh shit, he doesn't have the football. I've seen him chase jet sweeps that weren't, that were ghost sweeps instead of jets. You can trick this guy. There are times where he's getting double teamed and he's so preoccupied with double team, head's not up, doesn't even know where the football is. Guy runs right by him. He could have stuck a paw out, maybe impeded him just a bit. So from an awareness standpoint, he's got some things to clean up. Again, he's a puppy. He's 20. He's a baby. Point of attack physicality. He's not quite Daron Payne in that sense, but he's solid at the point of attack. Very physical, but he's not Daron Payne. at the point of attack. He's not standing up. I've seen this guy washed in the run game at times, but it's only because he allows it to happen. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Redirect. He actually redirects for a big man well. I didn't expect him to change directions as well as he did, but he actually changes directions pretty well. I've seen him chase some quarterbacks. He knew damn well he wasn't going to catch him, but he still hustles. I love it. Ability versus the run. He does a good job versus the run. There's some issues, though. Let's talk about him right now. So, against the run, he's got to do a better job, and this is where coaching comes into play. He's got to do a job. There's two things that annoy me watching him on tape with Tim Settle. One, he's got the Ricky Jean-Francois syndrome, okay? He isn't Daron Payne in the sense that he's selfless. Daron Payne is selfless, and what I mean by that is he sacrifices himself for the good of the team. Daron Payne's numbers don't jump out at you. You know why? Because he sacrificed his numbers for the good of the team. He took on the double teams. He was the guy that was occupying blockers on those TE games, okay? He was the guy that was taking up 2 blockers on that twist and allowing that defensive tackle to loop around, or that end to loop around and get to the quarterback. He was the guy doing all the dirty work. No, he wasn't getting the sacks. He wasn't getting the accolades, the tackles for losses. He did the selfless work that a lot of guys don't want to do because they want to stack up numbers. Tim Settle is a lot more selfish. He was allowed to be at Virginia Tech. Not putting this all on him. Bud Foster gave him the license to be aggressive. But in doing so, if you're going to be aggressive, you better be right. If you're going to knife into the backfield, remember, Ricky Jean-Francois used to do this all the time. He knife into the backfield. And you'd want to know, why isn't Ricky playing more? Because his job isn't to knife into the backfield. His job is to occupy that gap and be disciplined and stay at home. And Ricky wanted to make plays. Well, if you get in the backfield and the run is going away from you, what you've effectively done is you've opened up a huge gaping hole and a cutback for that back. And we see it all the time. Ricky Jean-Francois go flying up the field, and all of a sudden the B gap is wide open, running back cuts it back, and it's a gain of 7. Now, when Ricky gets right, he could get back there for a tackle for loss for 4 yards. But there were more times when he was wrong. You see that with Tim Settle. Okay, he'll knife in the backfield, running back goes the other way, and then cuts it back right where Tim Settle should have been. He plays in front of blocks, sometimes to the detriment of a play, where that's where the offensive lineman wants you to think you're winning, in front of his face, so he can just wash you. Now you've done his job for him. Instead of seeing where the play is going, he just automatically swims over the top of him and wins in front. But that tackle wanted you, that guard, center wanted you to win in front of him. Now he just washes you out of the play. Sometimes he plays behind blocks. Now you're out of the play and you're doing the job for the lineman. So he's got to do a better job of being square to the line of scrimmage, seeing what's going on and then reacting to it, and not being so hasty to try to win right off the snap, guessing wrong, and then giving up some space. The only time I've seen him get washed is when he guesses wrong and does the work for the offensive lineman. Pass rush ability. 4 sacks in 2017. He can get to the quarterback a little bit. I even seen him do a spin move. You want to talk about somebody giddy? I was excited. Now, he spun to nowhere, but it was a spin move. That means that's in the arsenal. So I've seen him win quickly off the ball. He's a cleanup sack guy. He's not necessarily going to be the first one there, but if that first end gets loose but doesn't come away with the sack, here comes Tim Settle to clean it up. So I like that. All hats to the football. Tim Settle is a guy that I think can do that. Tackling ability, I don't love his tackling ability necessarily. He's not, again, not Daron Payne in this sense. I've seen him miss some tackles. I've seen him stick that pog out there and not grab anything, or not have that pog be sticky enough. That pod, or excuse me, it's called a pod. It's called a paw of doom. When you just stick it out there as a defensive lineman and you just try to get a piece. And if you get a piece, you get a piece of cloth, you hold on to that shit like it's your life. He's not doing that. So I've seen him miss some tackles. he can be better in that department. Motor and endurance for a big 330-pound guy, he hustles, man. I've seen him chase down plays. There was a game I watched him, and I watched him in 4 games against Duke, against North Carolina, against Clemson, and against Pitt. I want to say it was the Clemson game where I saw him chase a guy down from behind about 15 to 20 yards down the field. I was like, wow, man, that's impressive. And he's chasing quarterbacks out of the pocket to the sidelines, man. He's hustling. I love it. I love it. Impact on the game. His impact on the game when he's engaged and he's juiced, meaning he's got stamina, he's in a rotation, he's pretty good, man. He's going to help us. Again, another one of these guys that I'm excited to see him with other players around him that are dominant along this defensive line. I think it's, you put him on the field with an Ioannidis, with an Allen, with a Payne, and shit starts to go sideways for the offensive line as the pocket starts to collapse. And you're going to see a guy like Settle just devouring guys in the interior of offensive lines. And this is going to be fun to watch. Our defensive line, for the first time in a long time, as Redskin fans, we should be excited about what we have up front. And I think this was the missing piece here. Even more so than Daron Payne, he's a true nose. I think Payne is more of a 5-tech, more of a 3-tech when we go to our even fronts, when we're in nickel. Tim Settle gives you that big body nose that we've been lacking since we made the switch to a 3-4 defense. We're really excited about this. He's a pup. Only 2 years of experience at Virginia Tech. And here's something else to take into consideration. He had to redshirt his first year in college because he wasn't in shape and he was endurance-wise wasn't where he needed to be. And he's a guy that loves to eat, hence the 330. We've got to do a good job of keeping him in shape, keeping him endurance-wise where he needs to be, because he struggled with that throughout his collegiate career. He wasn't great in 2016. Why? Because he still was struggling with weight and endurance. He was exceptional in 2017 because he cut weight and his endurance was a lot better. So if we get the 2017 version, and again, he's a puppy, we get that version of Tim Settle, this guy's only going to get better, and we've got ourselves one hell of a nose moving forward. I'm excited by this pick, as probably most of you are, and this is one of those picks that helped make this draft what it ultimately has been regarded as in 2018. But from there, we go to our next pick. This is one that you pick for the future. You're projecting here in Alabama linebacker Shaun Dion Hamilton. All right, so you look at Shaun Dion Hamilton, and here's a guy, 6 feet, 228, out of Alabama. He's a senior, played a ton of football, and because his situation is so unique with all of the different issues that he's had throughout his career, I had to go all the way back to 2015. I got a 2015 game against Michigan State in the bowl game. I got Auburn tape from 16, Arkansas tape from 16, USC tape from 16, and then I turned around and got Florida State tape from 17. So I've got tape on this guy. I've watched games spanning 3 different years just because of what he was as a player, what we're hoping to get, and then what he is after one of these injuries. And now we don't know what he's going to be after this second injury that he's just sustained. So we've got a lot to find out with this guy in Shaun Dion Hamilton. And I'm hoping that we get more of the 2016 pre-injury Shaun Dion Hamilton than we do the 2017 Florida State game Shaun Dion Hamilton. But we'll get into the injuries and what that means for us moving forward. But tackles for loss, 16 in his career, 2 interceptions in his career, 4.5 sacks in his career. So measurables at 6 feet, 228, that's a little light for me. All right, and I've said that's more along the line of today's NFL linebacker, but you'd like him to be in the 230s, okay? 228's a little light, and you see him get pushed around. He doesn't like contact laterally. When he's going head up, he'll take on anybody. He doesn't care. He'll take on a blocker. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but when he's going laterally, he doesn't want to deal with a 300-pound offensive lineman. So he'll take a couple of steps to go around them. He'll lose ground when trying to get to the outside. And a lot of that just has to do with his weight. He's not a big guy. So measurables aren't the best at 6 feet, 228. That being said, it's still solid for today's NFL. Speed. You don't really know how fast this guy is. He didn't run a 40, obviously, because he fractured his right kneecap in 2017. So you're not going to run a 40 with a fractured kneecap. But that being said, what I have him pegged on tape, I've got him from anywhere from 4.57 to 4.65, just watching him on tape. He's going to fall somewhere in that vicinity. Is he the fastest guy that we've seen come out of Alabama? No. As a matter of fact, he's less explosive than the second-round pick of the Tennessee Titans. Or was he the first-round pick? He was the first-round pick, excuse me, of the Titans this year, and Rashaan Evans. I think him and Rashaan Evans didn't run the 40 because I think he was hiding from us. The fact that he was probably going to run a 4.59, which isn't, or I take that back, a 4.65. He's probably going to run something around there. I think Dion Hamilton is somewhere in that general vicinity. Not as explosive as Rashaan Evans, however. But athleticism-wise, he's solid. You know, he's solid. Not going to knock your socks off with what he brings to the table. Wasn't blown away with what I saw. Acceleration. He's got solid acceleration. It's pretty good. When he gets the chance to open up and run, it's good. It's not great. Again, he's not Reuben Foster. You know, he's not even Rashaan Evans to me in terms of acceleration, but he can move. Redirect. He can turn, flip his hips. There was a good play against Florida State in 2017 where he's flipping his hips, almost mirroring that drill you see at the combine where the guy has the football, he's going hit, and you've got to flip your hips. You got to strike, flip your hips. He was doing that, almost picked off the pass. It's a great example of him redirecting and showing you the ability to flip his hips and the smoothness that he possesses in order to do that. Awareness. He's quite aware. He's a smart football player. He's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. I saw him bite up on play action fake a couple of times, take a couple of false steps, but for the most part, he's where he's supposed to be. I'll give you an example, and I used this for range as well, but there's a play in the USC game in 2016, first game of the season, out of the gate against USC, and they're running a jet sweep, and he's able to decipher quickly jet sweep, beat the wide receiver, and this was the angle that I thought Troy Apke should have taken that he didn't. He takes the angle of, hey, not only am I going to beat you to the spot, I'm going to force you to cut it back to my help on the inside. So what does he do? He beats the receiver to the outside, to the spot that the receiver wants to get to turn the corner, forces him, overplays it to force him back inside. Here comes the cavalry, gain of 1. Perfectly played. That shows you range, and it shows you awareness. I see the jet sweep. I react to it quickly, get to the outside, force him back to my help. You get 1 yard and like it. Shed slip. I don't think he sheds blocks that well, even though there's a great example against USC, same game, where they run a sweep to the outside in that game. It's a counter, excuse me, it's a counter. And I put this down in my notes for taking on blocks. He took on a block on a counter play versus USC. It's gorgeous. They've got 2 big nasties coming at Shaun Dion Hamilton to the outside. And the guard is the one that contacts him first. And he not only takes on that block, he stones the guard, knocks him on the ground, and then makes the tackle on the running back for about a no gain or a loss of 1. It was beautifully done. I didn't think he had that in him, to be honest with you. So he does have the ability to shed blocks. He doesn't slip them all that well, but he does have the ability to shed blocks and get to the ball carrier. He does take on blocks. When he's got his shoulders squared to the line of scrimmage and he's coming downhill, he'll take on anybody. He doesn't care if it's a fullback. He doesn't care if it's a tight end, a guard, a center, whomever. He'll take on anybody. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to shed that block and make a play, but he'll take on you. He's not running away from blocks, opening up gaps for guys to run up. He's taking on blockers. Tackling ability, he's a shoestring, shoot the cuffs type of guy. He's not squaring you up and blazing anybody. He's looking to get you down by the waist, maybe slip down to your ankles and wrap you up hog tie you and get you down. And again, I don't give a damn how you get a guy down. Just get him down. And he does that for the most part. Man coverage, he's solid in man. I love the fact that he understands his responsibility in man coverage. He knows what he has to do. A lot of these backs want to get out of the backfield on some wheel routes up the sidelines. Even when he's in the slot checking the guy and they're trying to run combination routes, he plays over the top, does a good job of getting on top. As in the case against Auburn, a wheel route up the sideline, running back's trying to run up the sideline, quarterback tries to finesse him up the sideline, and Shaun Hamilton is having none of it. Not only does he jam the receiver up against the sidelines, but then has the presence of mind to locate the football and then say, I did all of that. Might as well put the cherry on top and pick it off. Gorgeous play, beautifully done, well executed. Zone coverage, he's solid, gets good depth on his zone drops. I don't think he's a true difference maker per se in zone, but does get good depth, does keep quarterback eyes well in zone, and again, is where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. Blitzing capabilities, I got this as a negative right now. I don't think he's a great blitzer right now. I don't think he times it up well. I don't think he is decisive enough as a blitzer right now. You saw him, the best blitzing I saw him do was in the 2017 game versus Florida State. There was a free hitter blitz that he had off the edge where he was unaccounted for. That was probably one of the best blitzes I've seen from him, where he was coming up the middle at first, then he kind of takes a different path to the outside, comes around free, and gets there, and it impacts the play. But generally speaking, they did like a zone dog, a cross dog blitz up the middle, where both inside linebackers cross each other, and his cross was a little sloppy. It was slow. It was unexplosive. Almost seemed like he was reluctant to do it. I don't think he is as good of a blitzer as he can possibly be, so I'd like to see him improve that. And then range. He shows off some range. Chases down Ronald Jones, who went in the second round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we know is a 4-4 guy. Chases him down on a toss. Got a little bit of help. There was a corner out there that was able to turn Jones in slightly to the inside, but nonetheless, Shaun Hamilton got on his giddy up and got out there and was able to get him down. I talked about the jet sweep early in that same USC game, so he made some plays in some situations where you got to see him open up run and use that range. So the big story here with this pick is torn ACL in 2016 at the very end of that season in the SEC championship game versus Florida in 2016. Comes back from that injury, then fractures his right kneecap in 2017 and misses about the last 5 games or so of the season. This is a guy that's dealt with some major injuries, and you don't know what football player you're going to get coming back from a fractured kneecap. So almost like the Cowboys with Jalen Smith, you take a chance on a guy that if he heals correctly, you got something. You know, do I think that he is a first or second round talent? No, I don't. I think the earliest he would have come off the board had he been completely healthy would have probably been the 3rd round. Maybe because of the Alabama name, maybe he is a 2nd round pick, but I didn't see 1st or 2nd round talent. I saw a 3rd round guy here, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. I like Shaun Hamilton. He's no Zach Brown in terms of speed. He's not that fast. Is he a upgrade over Mason Foster? I wouldn't even say that right now. I think he's solid. I don't think that he's a game changer. I do think he provides us with good depth. And if we have to play him down the road, I wouldn't be upset about it. Wouldn't be upset about it one bit. But he doesn't knock my socks off, personally. Of all the draft picks, he may be the one that I have the least expectations for. I'll say that much. But that's just me. So we go from Shaun Hamilton to our next pick, a guy that I'm really excited about, in Virginia Tech cornerback Greg Stroman. So you look at Greg Stroman and what he brings to the table. You got to love the fact that he was coached by Torian Gray at some point of his Virginia Tech career early on. Torian Gray probably had some input here. And I love Torian Gray. I think he's one of the best coaches that we have on our staff. And so I have nothing but the utmost confidence that Torian Gray is going to get the most out of Greg Stroman. And we may have found our new slot with another Virginia Tech football player. Remember, Kendall Fuller was from Virginia Tech as well. We may have found our new slot here in Greg Stroman. And the beauty is I think we've got depth at slot. You know, I know a lot of you aren't a huge fan of Orlando Scandrick. I think he's still got good football left in him. I think that Joshua Halsey, guy that we selected last year in the 7th round out of Auburn, who I told you was going to make the team, I like him a lot, and I think the Redskins still like him too. And now you add a guy like Greg Stroman to the mix. And if he's healthy, I fully expect Stroman to make this team just based off of his versatility alone, and we'll get to that. But I watched him against Miami. I watched him against Georgia Tech. And I know some of you say, Georgia Tech, they won the triple option. Why would you watch a cornerback? Wanted to see, A, he got an interception in that game. That's number one. 2, I wanted to see what he did against the run. You know they're going to run it. And with that triple option, how is he going to come up and run support? I watched him against Pitt. And then I watched his punt returns versus North Carolina and East Carolina. East Carolina in 2016 where he had a touchdown. North Carolina in 2017 where he had a touchdown. And the Pitt game, if you want to see the best of Greg Stroman, that's the game you need to watch him in, against Pitt. So, in 2017. So, and he also has a pick in the Miami game in 2017. And that was a hell of a pick. He got injured in that game. So, he leaves the game for about a good quarter and a half. Then he returns and he gets a pick. So, I like that. The fact that he got injured, comes back into the game, shows toughness, and then makes a play for his team. So, Greg Stroman, 5'11", 182, senior out of Virginia Tech. Let's get into some of the, I'll save that for the versatility at the end. Measurables. I don't love his measurables. At 5'11", 182, you're a $182, you're way too light. Now, that weight alone to me screams slot. And so from a slot perspective, he's fine. You don't have to be a huge guy in a slot, but I don't love that. But again, if he's in the slot, I don't have a problem with it. But right now, I'm banging him for that. I'm beating him up for being so small right now as a boundary corner, which he was at Vatech. I think he's more of a slot at the next level. Speed, 4.48 40. He can run. You can pick him up. He can put him down. So you get that with Greg Stroman. Love that about him as well. Athleticism, he's really nimble, quick change of direction, good agility, acceleration, all of that good stuff. Athleticism, all of that, it's in a nice, neat package here. You're not a good punt returner if you're not a good athlete. You know, all punt returners aren't fast. Joshua Cribbs was not a fast guy, but what he was he was agile, could change directions, make cuts, string them together without losing speed, without breaking stride. You get that with Greg Stroman as well. So that leads me to agility, change of direction. It's as good as it gets. You watch that punt return versus either one of those punt returns. The one against North Carolina was a 91-yard punt return with a bunch of zigging and zagging, getting out of traffic, and then getting down the sideline. Beautiful. East Carolina punt return, similar thing. Zigging and zagging, in and out of traffic, finally breaks free, and then at the last second, got to turn on the jets to outrun the last defender to get to the end zone. So this is a guy that has agility and change of direction, and that comes at the cornerback position and as well as a return man. Anticipation and awareness, the best I can give you, and it kind of goes hand in hand with his zone coverage, is a play against Pitt where he's just playing cover 3, you know, and there's no receiver out on his side, so he gets to kind of freelance a little bit. And he's able to drop at an angle, and the quarterback never really sees Greg Stroman dropping underneath the corner route. Stroman eyeballs the quarterback the entire time. Again, he doesn't really have a responsibility on this play. There's no action on his side pre-snap. So he's allowed to kind of freelance, and he watches the quarterback and is able to drop and sink underneath the corner route, leap up into the air in one seamless motion and pick it off. And then after the pick, turns into a punt returner, which again, it's gorgeous to watch. So that's anticipation and awareness. And then I'll give you another example, similar play or similar usage of this particular trait. Against Miami, he's in cover 3. He's playing off. Receiver's running a slant. Doesn't do a very good job of running slant, but nonetheless, that's not Greg Stroman's fault. Quarterback expects his receiver to win cross face. Stroman says, nope, see what you're running. I'm going to beat you to the punch. I'm going to run this slant for you. Takes the football. Cookies, let me get that. Thanks. You don't know what to do with that. So that's all anticipation and awareness. He sees it, reacts to it, goes and gets the football. All right. L.L. Sear, he right now isn't as good of an L.L. Sear as I would like him to be, but he does look back for the football. Will he panic sometimes? Sure. Will that cost him down the road? Maybe. But he looks back enough that I have hope that he'll get more experience and become better at locating the football in flight and making a play on it because he's got ball skills. I don't want to take that away from him. And if you want to handcuff yourself and take away one of your best attributes, which is ball skills, then don't look for the football. You can't make plays if you don't look for the football. So I think he can be better in that regard, but he's good enough as it stands. Ball skills, tremendous. He's got 9 career interceptions, 4 of which came in 2017. So the guy is attacking the football. It's in the air. It's both of ours. Personally, if you want me to be honest with you, it's mine. That's the approach that Greg Stroman takes. But I love the fact that he's attacking the football. Unlike a Troy Apke who's just looking to knock it away, who's just happy to be there. I'm just happy to be here, man. You know, like a guy who makes it to the All-Star game is just happy to be here. That's not Stroman. He expects to be at the All-Star game. I'm supposed to be there. Let me do something while I'm here. Tackling and willingness to tackle. Versus Pitt, great open field tackle. Man, was that a beautiful tackle. Out in space, no help. You miss this tackle, this could be 66 or 68 and out the gate. But instead, he just sizes him up. And again, $182 we talking here. Sizes the dude up, form tackle, smashes him, knocks him down on the ground. I watched him in the Georgia Tech game not be aware of run enough. And I was waiting for him to fall asleep behind the wheel because, you know, Georgia Tech, it could be 37 straight runs and now they throw a pass. Don't fall asleep. That's how they get you because you're looking for run. As a corner, now you fall asleep behind the wheel. That receiver who's been blocking on 30 straight plays all of a sudden acts like he's coming to block you and blows by you. And now you just gave up a 65-yard touchdown. That's how they do you at Georgia Tech. He didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, but he wasn't as aggressive in the run game there either. But he's willing to come up and tackle. I'll say that. For his small stature and frame, he will come up and hit you. Man coverage, he's solid in man. I think he's better in zone right now. He's solid in man. I trust him in man. The best play that comes to mind, that Pitt game was exhilarating. If you haven't had a chance to watch, that's just a good watch, especially the ending. Okay? They give up a big play to Pitt with about, let's call it 40 seconds left. Pitt has no timeouts left. 1st and goal from the 1. They make a stop on 1st down on a run play. They run it on 2nd down again. Now they're running out of time with no timeouts in about 13 seconds when they snap it on 3rd down. They throw it, and Stroman is lined up inside tight. Realizes at the last second, oh my God, there's a receiver out wide. I got to get out there quick to guard him in man-to-man. They throw a fade to that side. Stroman plays outstanding textbook defense, knocks it away. Creates a 4th down and goal from the 1, and they're able to get the stop once more and preserve the victory in that ball game late. So he's got the ability to play some man, but he's better in zone. Both of the picks versus Pitt and Miami were in zone coverage, and it's just him reading the eyes of the quarterback and making a play on the football. Blitzing capability, you got to see him blitz in that Pitt game. And as a believer that this guy's going to be a slot at the next level, it was refreshing to see him blitz. And he's got a little juice to him as a blitzer. Didn't see him blitz enough, but I know that the capability exists with him, so I'm comfortable in him in that setting. I like what I saw, and I feel confident that if he's asked to blitz at the next level, he'll be able to do it competently. So there's something else to like there. But the reason Greg Stroman is a great pick here is his versatility. His versatility is off the charts. So let me just give you a rundown of what this guy has done throughout his career at Virginia Tech. 4 career punt return touchdowns, 2 of them coming in 2017. I talked about one of them against North Carolina. 9 INTs in his career, 4 of which came in 2017. He's blocked a field goal before in his career against North Carolina. That was back in 2016. He's also punted in his career in 2016. They were hurting at the position. He came in and punted. So if we ever need an emergency punter, Greg Stroman can do that. What else can Stro do for you? He can play running back. He did that at Virginia Tech. Took a couple carries. Played the cornerback position. As we know, that's his main position. Kickoff return man and punt returner. So what can Stro do for you? Some of everything. And so it's that kind of versatility that not only ensures that he's going to make this roster, but he's got a chance to excel on this roster. Jamison Crowder struggled mightily, lost his confidence last year as a punt returner. Those days are over. Greg Stroman is our new punt returner. Now the question is asked, how many corners are you keeping? How many corners are you keeping? Somebody's got to get cut. Somebody's got to get washed away to the practice squad. Can we sneak Joshua Halsey onto the practice squad? Because someone's got to go. Unless you're keeping 6 corners, I think they're going to keep 5. Someone's got to go. So I'm thinking that guy's going to be Joshua Halsey, but we will see. But ain't no doubt in my mind, Greg Stroman, he's making his roster, especially as a punt returner. But that's Greg Stroman. And we wrap up this Redskins 2018, highly acclaimed 2018 NFL draft with the selection of SMU wide receiver Trey Quinn. So you look at Trey Quinn and what he brings to the table. Here's a guy, redshirt junior out of SMU, started off his career, first 2 years, at LSU. Okay? This is a guy that hails from Louisiana, went to LSU, wasn't happy with his playing time and amount of touches, and they stink at quarterback anyway. He sits out a year in 2016, comes back and lights it up in 2017 at SMU and parlays that into his draft pick in 2017. So part of the reason I think he's sitting here, if you look at him and what he did in 2017, this guy isn't a 7th round pick. This is more of a 4th, 5th round pick. But if you look at his totality of his body of work, he's a 7th round pick. Why? 1 year of true production. All right? At LSU, those first 2 years, he did nothing. Nothing. 8 catches and 5 catches. So the 114 that he had in 2017, yes, 114, that was essentially his career. And maybe that scared some teams away. But you want me to give you my comp for Trey Quinn? I'll do that at the end of this breakdown. 6 feet, 203 pounds out of SMU. That's actually quality size for a guy that brings to the table the skill set that he does. Measurables, 6 feet, 203. I like it. And I think his home at the next level is the slot. But can you slide him outside? Sure you can. Sure you can. He can play a little bit of Z for you. He can play a little bit of Z. Okay? So, yeah, he can play a little bit outside for you. But I think his home is in the slot when it's all said and done. I'm not saying that this is a Jamison Crowder replacement. You can never have too many guys that can do what he does. But this could be a Jamison Crowder replacement. I don't see that happening. Crowder's going into the last year of his deal. If he balls, he's got to be back. but we'll see what happens. Hands. His hands are outstanding. All right, there's a catch on the sideline versus Tulsa. Ridiculous. And I watched him in 4 games. Versus TCU, versus Houston, versus Cincinnati, versus Tulsa. So there's a catch against Tulsa. Stupid on the sidelines. Stops, turns, pirouettes, ball's thrown outside, grabs the end tip of the football, reels it in, falls, turns, secures ball. Stupid. Dumb. Dumb. This guy's ridiculous. He's got outstanding hands. Speed, 4.55 40 got. So is he blazing? No. But is he quicker than fast? You betcha. Quickness, suddenness. I just talked about that. He's going to win some routes. All right. Just off of his ability to shake free. Is it the cleanest? No. Is he Julian Edelman? Yes. That's my comp for him. All right. He's going to break some dudes off. He's not Wes Welker, Danny Amendola fast and quick, but he's Julian Edelman-esque. Same size, same ability to shake free, same run after catch as Edelman. Edelman's not juking anybody out in space, breaking dudes off. You let him out in space, though, he can get freaky if need be, but he's a tough guy with the ball in his hands. Acceleration, not tremendous. Not going to knock your socks off. Good enough, though. Route running, he's a good route runner. Quality route runner, shakes free, gets open. I saw him lower a guy to sleep in the TCU game. Early in that game, first possession of the game, they go flea flicker. And he comes off, looks like he's about to block, and then turns it up on the dude. Smokes him. Quarterback lays it out. Trey Quinn goes, gets it, touchdown. From about 62 yards out. Physicality. He's not afraid to go over the middle and do the dirty work, man. I mean, all the accolades went to second-round pick Cortland Sutton from SMU. But Trey Quinn was doing some of that dirty work, man. He was doing the dirty work. So he's not afraid to go over the middle. So the physicality and the toughness kind of run together. Run after catch, excuse me. He's solid. He's not great. Not going to knock your socks off, run after catch, but he can. And there's some punt return and kickoff return experience in here. So, again, that kind of speaks to this guy has a little something out in space, but, again, it's not Greg Stroman-like. All right. Leaping ability and high pointing the football, that's not great. That's one of my negatives for him. His catch radius, also not a big catch radius here. But that's not what you should be asking Trey Quinn to do anyway. All right. Ball tracking. Tracks it beautifully in the air. Goes and gets it. It's his football. It's in the air. It's his football. Love the way he tracks the football. That's one of the best qualities and characteristics I see along with his hands in Trey Quinn right now as we speak, is his ability to go and attack the football. Don't wait for it to come. Go get it. And there's a great example of that I'm going to use for his dependability and clutchness here in a second. But blocking, he blocks well enough. And you better be able to block for the amount of slip screens and tunnel screens and wide receiver screens and bubbles that they threw at SMU. You better block. They threw Cortland Sutton a ton of hitches and bubbles and swings. So you better block. And Trey Quinn will go in there and he'll block. And I always say as a receiver, you wanna eat, gotta block for your food. And he will block for food. Dependability and clutchness. 4th and 26 in overtime versus Cincinnati. Gotta have it, okay? Remember, this isn't NFL overtime rules. This is college football. You get the ball first, and remember, you get it at the 25-yard line. You go backwards 16 yards like they did, you're not kicking a field goal from the 41-yard line, right? So if you don't get this conversion on 4th and 26, for all intents and purposes, all Cincinnati has to do is not miss a field goal. You lose. Quarterback throws it up for grabs on 4th and 26. Who comes down with the football? Trey Quinn goes and attacks the ball, snatches it out of the air, and converts 4th and 26. With the game on the line. If that's not clutch, if that's not dependable, I don't know what is. Versatility. I told you that he's a guy that can play out wide. He can play in the slot. I think the slot is going to be his home at the next level. But don't sleep on him as a guy that can go outside at 6 feet, 203. Don't sleep on him as a guy that can go outside and mix it up, because he can't. But also offers you the ability to return punts and kickoffs. Is he as good as a Greg Stroman? No. But He can offer you that. Sideline awareness. I talked about the beautiful pirouette catch against Tulsa. That's my best example of him catching the football on the sidelines. He knows where he is at all times on the football field. Can identify when he needs to try to tippy-toe, get his feet down. I like his game around the sidelines. And then production. I banged him a little bit for production because it's only 1 year. And how do we know that that's not a fluke? We don't. But 114 catches, I don't give a damn what offense you're in. I don't care how many of those are bubble screens. It's a lot of damn catches. And most of the catches, I'm going to tell you right now, most of the catches I saw were vertical catches. They weren't horizontal hitches and bubbles at the line of scrimmage. Now, of course, there were a lot of those sprinkled in. But I'm telling you, he was getting chunks up the field. All right. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't get 1,236 yards and 13 touchdowns on a bunch of bubbles and hitches. Okay? There was a 3-week stretch. Let me give you this 3-week stretch. 3 straight games that Trey Quinn put up. Ridiculous. Versus UConn, 15 catches, $116, 2 touches. The following week, at Houston, 17 catches, $156, and a touch. 2 weeks later, but the next game, okay, so they had a bye week. They come off the bye, 3rd straight game at Cincinnati, 17 grabs, $186, no touches. You're talking about in a 3-game stretch, I'm doing quick math here. That's 330. You're talking about 450 yards of production in a 3-week stretch with 49 grabs. Insane production from this guy this past year. Only 1 year, though. So I banged him for it. But this guy's making a roster. Jay Gruden wanted Trey Quinn earlier. Was pissed when the Redskins passed on him. He got his man in the 7th round. So I'm excited about this Trey Quinn pick. But I want to go back, before we wrap it up, I want to go back to Jaron Christian real quick because I left out some of his cons, some of the things that he doesn't do all that well. So I want to talk about him quickly before we get out of here. So his technique needs work. From a technical stance perspective, he's outstanding. He's erect. Hands are in the ready position, ready to strike. But that being said, he doesn't use his length the way he's supposed to yet. And again, he's still young in the game, all right? Still got a lot of learning to do. So his punch is inconsistent. I talked about tackles being like boxers. And when you've got length, you need to use it to your advantage. Keep that edge rusher at bay with your jab, with your punch. His is inconsistent. And when you don't have a consistent punch, when you don't throw it in a timely manner, you allow guys to get into your body like Nick Chubb did in 2017. Defeated him, got into his body, spun on him, beat him. All right? Then you see a situation where you get bull rushed. If you don't get bull rushed if you use your length correctly. You get bull rush when you allow a guy to get into your body. So from a technique standpoint, he's got to learn to use his length. That's his strong suit. Use it to your advantage. He's not doing that consistently enough quite yet. And then his anchor isn't great, okay? That's where that 298 pounds comes into play. He's got to get functionally stronger. I talked about that, only 19 reps of 2 1/4. Got bull rush versus Florida State in 2017, as well as NC State in 2017. Right into the lap of the quarterback. He was able to kind of recover in the NC State game. In the Florida State game, he got jacked up all the way to the quarterback. All right, so that's Jaron Christian, though. He needs time, and he'll get time. He's not starting right away. So that's the beauty of that selection there. So that's the Redskins 2018 NFL Draft in a nutshell. If you want to stick around, I'm going to come right back. I'm going to end this stream and come right back, and we'll discuss the Redskins situation, everything. Draft, rumors of surrounding Bruce Allen, everything under the sun, including Ty and Seki potentially playing guard. All that and more. If you guys want to stick around and chop it up, we're going to do that tonight. But I thank you for joining me. I am a Redskins fan etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. I will put up the scores for each and every single player and this Redskins draft on the site, Louie T Network, here in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. But I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. See you in a bit. And again, thanks for joining me.
Louie T Network.